So you're ready to kick it off?
Ready as I'll ever be. Hi, everybody. Our fearless state coordinator is in another country and is having some audio kerfuffles. So I'm slowly working. This will be my first time. I'm going to try to recreate what she does for this beginning segment of renewing renewing the countryside and MNWiC partnership here. I'm screen sharing and I'm going to get this up. All right, are we good? Can everybody see the slides with Minnesota Women in Conservation at the backdrop?
Yep.
Um, okay, well, we want to give a big thank you to Harriet and Angela who are presenting today, and Noreen for corralling these wonderful women into this space. Minnesota Women in Conservation is an initiative sponsored by Renewing the Countryside, which has been supporting and connecting stewards of land and farms with necessary resources for over 20 years. Our program, we want to give a special thank you to Natural Resource Conservation Services and Minnesota NRCS for funding MNWiC. And what our objectives are to welcome and support all women in agriculture and land stewardship, through increasing their knowledge, understanding of use of conservation practices, climate smart practices, and introducing them and helping them with NRCS programs. We shepherd or support women through the process of program assistance and hope to create lasting legacy of relationships and regional networks. Our 2026 priorities are to equip women with knowledge and understanding, developing their own conservation plans and supporting them through the process, build partnerships, and just encourage this transactional learning relationship. We build regional networks through potlucks, webinars, field days, sharing our stories from the field with learning circles. This was at our, this was up in Fergus Falls. These are, as you could see, people are having a good time. We were able to allocate funds for women to attend an SFA Graze and Soil Summit conference a few months ago, and this is the cohort that were the attendees that won the scholarship. It was a group of 34 women, and we got really great feedback. Burke, I see you added the quote. I'm so beyond grateful for this opportunity. The last year priorities changed, and I feel I lost sight of what fills my soul and my direction for my new farm. I gained knowledge, confidence, and inspiration to find myself on the right track again and look forward to moving forward. Scholarship recipient reflection. Okay. And this is sort of this is our map of where we've been reaching women in the state of Minnesota. I now will speak for Burke. She wants to see this whole map turn green. And the darker it is, the more that have been interacted with something that we've done in the area. So we're working to grow our capacity as stewards of the land. Upcoming webinar that we have is a bird. Oh, was someone okay? Birds on land management, and we'll drop links in the chat about registering for upcoming webinars and events. This is going to be great. We have an avian ecologist with DNR, Nicole Davros, and Annie Bay with the Audubon Society to talk about birds, the threats to birds. And I see most people in the chat are talking about how they love to hear them. So let's encourage their well-being through our land management practices. The MNWiC blog, this is what we have upcoming. Maddie has been uploading and editing our past webinars. So if you are interested, they are available on our website. I will also drop that in the chat. And yes, our regional coordinators on this call. Maddie is our amazing comms support. Our state coordinator is Burke Murphy. And then the regional coordinators are myself, Noreen up in the great north, and Allison in the northeast. So reach out. And I'm going to stop sharing and pass it back to Noreen. Thank you.
Good morning. Well, one of our first speakers is Harriet Behar. She's been an organic egg educator and advocate for decades. You'll probably see her with the Madison Moses Organic Farmers Association. She's been an organic inspector visiting thousands of operations. She's taught conservation activities to farmers, egg professions, and consumers. She's very enthused and she has a wide, deep knowledge of environmental egg methods. She's written materials from podcasts, videos, webinars, and in person. She and her husband have managed a certified organic farm since 1989. Some of you were younger than that. So, growing bedding plants, vegetables, herbs, and small grains. And she has a small scale commercial operation selling eggs and honey. Take it away, Harriet.
Yeah, and I actually have been on thousands of organic farms, which was really fun. So I'm going to start out my talk just mostly talking about my farm, and then I'll go a little bit into conservation stuff. So I'm still trying to find my slideshow here. There we go. That's it. So next slide, I just put this on as our first one. So this is an aerial map of my farm. We have 216 acres in Southwest Wisconsin, which is the driftless region. I've been there since 1981 and have, just immediately, I had actually rented out in the country before, but didn't really farm that much. And so came here to farm, but fell in love with my ecosystem. And the more I have been here, the more I realize that I get so many ecosystem services from all my land. And of course, my wooded areas protect me from any kind of drift. Not that anybody right near me is using chemicals, which I'm very lucky about. And so I'll go into that too. I do harvest things out of my stream for the first, I don't know, about 10 years that I was on the property. I have 2 springs that have a lot of watercress, and I actually made taxes by selling watercress. I always felt like the farm paid for itself. So over the years, I put up many things, a greenhouse, drying room, and you're going to see pictures of that. Next slide. So we have kind of put a lot of systems in place. I mean, at this point, we still experiment, but we kind of have found things that really work for us. So we have a flock of about 40 laying hens, and then we always have baby chicks coming up because we do not keep them more than a year. And so we rotate our chickens in our vegetable field, and then our rotation is then the next year, that's where we put the sweet corn. So we seed down an area with red clover and then have our movable fence and our movable chicken coop and bring the chickens and so it really works good, and we don't have to add any fertility. We have a trout stream that the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources has declared a brook trout sanctuary. We've done a lot of work with the Natural Resources Conservation Service on improving that incredible resource. I am not exaggerating by saying that we have probably at least 1,000 trout on our property. We see lots of them. And then that picture down below is a very unusual trout. It is a cross between a brook trout and a brown trout, and it's called a tiger trout. And it's very rare because that the both of them are spawning in the same area. So we have a lot of spawning grounds. And they brook trout are usually speckled, and this is a tiger trout, which is got stripes kind of, and it is like a mule, so it is sterile and it will not reproduce itself. But anyway, we threw it back in. We didn't eat it. I also grow herbs, and you can see those are my calendula. And then we raise honeybees, and then that's our excuse for putting in lots of native prairie, so our honeybees always have some place to get nectar and pollen. Next slide. So I try on my farm to do things that have multiple benefits. So when we grow these cover crops, we like to grow flowering cover crops so they provide nectar and pollen for our honeybees. And then they give us like a legume will give us nitrogen. A buckwheat is very good at uh, kind of killing off quackgrass and other types of grass. And so we not only, use cover crops, but we rotate the cover crops around in the fields, never really growing the same cover crop in the same place. So we keep getting these multiple benefits. Yeah. And then I put down this reusable landscape cloth between my rows. And you can go to the next slide because I think there's a picture of that. There's my husband rolling it out. So we can like roll that out and use that stapler because I don't want to be crawling around on my hands and knees. The first year I went with a little mallet and put in the staples with a mallet, and that was no fun. So we found these staplers, and we can put down that sheet of landscape cloth in about 15 minutes and also roll it up in about 15 minutes. So it goes pretty fast. But the multiple benefits is that then my herbs are very clean. I don't have to do tillage. I don't have any weeds except right in the row, and you can see how close it comes in the row. And I am now on my 7th year of using the same plastic. And so I am hoping that the plastic actually outlasts me. But there I am on a tractor. That's my favorite tractor, my little cultivating tractor. And then that hand tool is my favorite tool for weeding in between my plants. Next slide. So we do use, like I said, a lot of cover crops, not only through the winter. So my fields are all in rye right now. We do sometimes put some pelletized heat-treated chicken manure out there, but we find maybe only once every 5 years. We do soil testing, and we seem to be in very good shape. We also, anytime there is at least an 8-foot strip that is not being used at any time during the season, we come in and we plant a cover crop. And so that light green color in kind of in the middle stripe there, that's buckwheat. And buckwheat is one of our favorites because you can, in about 5-6 weeks, it'll start blooming. So very quick cover crop. Next slide. So then I have a greenhouse, which you saw that picture. And so right now I'm potting up a lot of plants. I sell bedding plants and then of course grow a lot of the herb plants. So it works really well in my system to transplant all of my vegetable plants, and then I can put down that landscape cloth and never, the only tillage would be to incorporate that rye in the spring after, and then just get the beds ready for transplanting, transplant, put down the landscape cloth, and then that's it until the fall when we pull the landscape cloth up again and put in rye or crimson clover or some other overwintering cover crop. Next slide. So this greenhouse was built in 2001. It's unusual, although there is a project in Minnesota called the Deep Winter Greenhouse project, or I'm not sure, but anyway, if you Google Deep Winter Greenhouse Minnesota, you'd find something about my greenhouse in there, even though I'm not in Minnesota, and other people that are doing these kind of earth-bermed solar greenhouses. Very, very low energy use. You can see in the bigger slide there that those doors open into the cold frames in the front. So it's very handy, and then I can drive right in the front and pull all the plants out to take them to the field or to sell them to people. It's very efficient, and all of the racks are hanging there. And then in the winter, I take everything apart and then I grow lettuce and spinach and all winter long. The only time I really need to make a fire in there to heat it is when it goes below 0 at night. Otherwise, I don't worry about it and nothing freezes. Really great. Thank you. Next slide. And there's the, so this is my drying room. There's calendula flowers on a rack, and then I have a little heater, and I dry herbs, and then I store them in these giant food grade bags, and then I garble them or sift them. I sell to tea makers, my local food co-op, and a soap maker. So that's another little enterprise that I have, but I love working with plants. So yeah, so little bit of everything here. Next slide. And just the market for organic food is strong. People kind of are seeking out organic food, and especially like to see their local farmers growing organically. So I encourage people, if you want to know more about organic farming or even just organic land management, to get a hold of me. I'll have my contact information at the end. So next slide. So that's about me. And I just stress that so much of my farming is really based in a conservation ethic. Because organic really relies on the tools that nature provides to us. We use natural sources of fertility, and natural methods of weed control. And being an organic inspector, I heard a lot of wisdom from other organic farmers. I'd say, "Oh, this is a big farm, do you have any help or partners that help you with this?" And many of the farmers would say the same thing. They say, "I am a partner with nature. Nature is my partner." And whether you're farming or just trying to take care of some land, nature is your partner. And so really kind of paying attention to the natural systems that are already on your land, and then working with those tools is very rewarding. Next slide. So in the organic regulation actually mandate that you have to maintain or improve your natural resources. So if you have any interest in doing any kind of organic farming or just improving your natural resources, obviously working with the Natural Resources Conservation Service is a good place to go. They actually offer cost share to help you with dealing with your natural resource concerns. And that would be anything that's soil, water, wetlands, woodlands, or wildlife related. Next slide. So the NRCS are advisors as well. So it's not just the cost share that provides a lot of help, but they are very knowledgeable conservation professionals that can help you. And if they don't know something, let's say you have an apple orchard, they may not know how to deal with pests in apple orchards, but there might be somebody 2 counties away that could help you. And then they will come and do that, help you with that work. Just wanted to point out, EQIP is one of the programs from the Natural Resources Conservation Service, NRCS, and it stands for Environmental Quality Incentives Program, and there is no U in there. And then CSP is the Conservation Stewardship Program, which kind of address different ways of approaching conservation activities. So the NRCS can help you identify your conservation opportunities, go to a learning circle with MNWiC, attend these. You'll find out lots of things that the NRCS could help you with in improving your land. And of course, many of the NRCS actual practices that you can get cost share for are foundational activities on an organic farm, like cover cropping, like putting in windbreaks or buffer zones, like doing things that prevent soil erosion. Next slide. So the definition of organic is something that is a production system that's site-specific, that integrates cultural, biological, and mechanical practices. So we move away from thinking about that farming or even land management is very based in inputs. We're not looking at inputs. We're looking at using our understanding of the natural systems and working with that, cultural and biological, and that we then foster the cycling of resources, promote ecological balance, and conserve biodiversity. And I can tell you that on my farm, we have really worked towards this. And I can't remember the last time we used a pesticide. I don't know. Must have been 25 years ago. Next slide. So if you're interested in organic farming, you need to have at least 36 months where no prohibited material was used. So if you had conservation reserve program or fallow land, you can actually get certified organic immediately with no waiting time. And not every field or the livestock and the crops, you can pick and choose which areas would be then certified. Next slide. So I'm kind of tying organic and NRCS together. So NRCS has certain things that if you want to go organic, they can really help you with. They have this financial assistance for like buffer zones between you and conventional land where you can put in trees or hedgerows or native plantings of prairie. They have various kinds of cover cropping and crop rotation, pest and weed and disease management practices. And if you have any sort of livestock, they have just a plethora of things that they can help you with, watering systems and fencing and putting together a rotational grazing plan, putting in kind of animal walkways. Even putting gutters on your barn if that is an area that then is getting a lot of erosion because the animals kind of hang out next to the barn, and then when the water comes down, there's like kind of bare ground there and there's erosion, they'll help you put gutters on your barn. Next slide. So here's examples of like buffer zones and filter strips that the NRCS will help you design. And they know which things grow well in your area and can really be a big help, both for insect management. Like I said, I like things that give me multiple benefits. So the field border could be a place where you're not growing crops for sale, which you need to have when you're organic if your neighbor is doing chemical agriculture over the fence. But then you can grow native plants there, and that would be an insectarium for all kinds of beneficial insects. And I can tell you on my farm that has worked very well. Next slide. And then the other thing too is to really think about this through the Farm Service Agency. They can give you an aerial photo of your land. If you are not listed as a farm, you need to go to your Farm Service Agency office and just list yourself. Doesn't cost anything. And then they'll give you these beautiful aerial photos. And then you can start dreaming up what you need where. And this would actually be a very helpful thing to share with the NRCS if you are interested in getting some cost share. So you can see the hedgerow at the north end of the property and field border at the south end of the property and a windbreak on the west end. Next slide. So you can also, use a lot of different things with the NRCS. They'll help with mulching, with composting, with having a conservation crop rotation, lots of different things. And this is something that's mandated by the NRCS, by organic. And so then again, use that same map. Where are you going to do what? And this would be helpful if you bring this with you to the NRCS office. Next slide. And then there's also, if you don't know what you want to do, they have cost share for writing plans like a transition to organic or a pest management or an irrigation water management or, fertility or nutrient management. All of these things, then you get an expert and the NRCS helps you pay for that expert advice. And then those plans help you figure out what next steps you need to take. Next slide. If you have animals, there's a tremendous amount of, like I said, watering, stream crossings, rotational grazing, fencing, all these things they can do for you. Next slide. So then one thing that we have done, I think many of you are aware that the NRCS and the Farm Service Agency, FSA, have really lost a lot of personnel. So they are carrying a lot of weight. So this is something that, and the link is also in the chat, where the group that I work for, the Organic Farmers Association, has put together this checklist that if you could carry, go through this and check yes, no, maybe on that list of things and fill that out. This will really help the NRCS be able to help you. It probably takes care of at least 2 or 3 hours of them asking you questions. But you have to walk around your farm and figure it out. And if you have an attached map, that would be even better. Next slide. And this is my last slide. So we also have 2 other fact sheets that again are in the chat on how to access Farm Service Agency funding, because there is funding there as well. They have low interest loans, they have grants, they have lots of different things. So you can look at what they have, and then also just something about pesticide drift. And somebody mentioned that they like the wind, but some people don't like the wind. And I think maybe Angela's going to talk a little bit about pesticide drift in her presentation. And then that's how you get a hold of me.
Thank you so much, Harriet. And we'll have Q&A right after this, but I'll introduce our next guest. Is Angela Jackson, is a farmer ambassador with Regenerative Organic Alliance. She's a certified organic farmer, an advocate, educator, and leader, auditor for more than 15 years of experience in organic inspection, production of crops and livestock, quality assurance, and leading audits of organic, environmental, and animal welfare programs. Angela brings a wide perspective and a farmer's lens to the ROA team. She lives on her farm in South Dakota with her family. Take it away, Angela.
Thank you, Noreen. I'm going to share my screen quick here. Hopefully all of you can see that. I'm going to thank you, Harriet, for such a great presentation on NRCS. I also work with the NRCS as well as ROA as a contractor, and Harriet and I run cross paths often in this space, but I wanted to shift gears and talk a little bit about a program that I wrote for the state of South Dakota, and then also a little bit about about my farm and my family. I have a bit of a connection to South Dakota. So in the top left-hand picture is a picture of my dad standing in front of our combine with my husband, Glenn. And my family is from Brewster, Minnesota. So our family homesteaded in Nobles County in 1889. And the last parcel of that farm was sold off in 2010. That last original farm piece was sold off in 2010. And my father, my gracious father, gave me some of that inheritance to purchase a farm in South Dakota because, well, I love Minnesota, but sorry, I didn't want to move to Minnesota. I was in South Dakota and I'm like, I don't want to leave South Dakota. My kids were in school here and I just had a lot going on. So anyway, I did end up was able to purchase a piece of land, and it was 100% at that time woman owned, woman ran. It's in southeast South Dakota. So I'm about From Minnesota, it's about an hour drive or so, 45-minute hour drive through Sioux Falls. So I'll be heading over on I-90. But I can, I'm not that far from Iowa and Nebraska. I'm nestled between the Missouri River and the Vermilion River, not too far from the Missouri River. So we have really rich soils where we are. They're in the top 1% of Clay County soils. And so we're really fortunate to have some really good land. So you can see my beautiful granddaughter. She's the next generation of farmers that we're raising up. She's already getting an early start managing the chicken coops. And so she'll be 9 coming up in July already. And she spends a lot of time with us on the farm. She absolutely loves the farm. And she's already saying, walking around going, hey, this is going to be my farm someday. So she's already making farm decisions and how she wants to do stuff. And then, of course, my husband and I have built the farm. We started out, it was an alfalfa field, and it's only about 20 acres, but we've developed it up into a real pretty diverse operation. We're also members of the South Dakota Specialty Producer Association, which is who I also work through as a contractor. I developed the Organic Regenerative Agriculture Pathway Program, working with NRCS here in South Dakota. So similar to maybe what Harriet's doing in Wisconsin, in South Dakota, my job is to go out into the field and help producers do all that paperwork before they walk into the NRCS office. We do on-farm processing of chicken. We do have a semi-mobile chicken processing facility on our farm that we built with an FSA microloan in 2017. And then in the bottom left, you'll see my dad and my Uncle Randy. My dad's unfortunately passed away. My Uncle Randy's passed away. He's in the green shirt there on the far right. And then me and Glenn and standing in front of one of our row crops. So we do specialty crops, but we also primarily, when we first started, we did a lot of row crops. So here's some examples. I want to talk a little bit about our first 10 years of organic farming. So we started at this site in 2010. And we did, my dad was a conventional farmer, his dad was a conventional farmer, and his dad was a conventional farmer. And we came into this and we thought, oh, we're gonna, I'd been working in organic a long time. Glenn was a little bit newer to it. My dad was a little bit newer to it. So we came into the farming a little bit later in life. Where, to be honest, even though I was been in the field, I still had a lot to learn. So we did a lot of things wrong. We did heavy soil disturbance. We used a lot of fertility inputs. We didn't really do rotational grazing. We were a 2 or 3 crop rotation, really wasn't using cover crops like the way Harriet is. And so we just really struggled with soil loss, organic matter loss, increased costs, lower soil health, higher disease, lower fertility. We were really struggling. You can see we just did a lot of dirt work. My dad and Glenn loved moving dirt. And we have a lot of dirt moving equipment, but I was trying to tell them you got to slow down. We just can't do that much dirt movement. We have high tunnels. We grow vegetables and fruits. We're putting in elderberry plants this year. So we first got certified organic in 2010 with MOSA. In a little bit, I would say in about 2015, we started noticing our soil. We were struggling a little bit. And then by 2018, we had a family moment where we had just come out of a really bad drift incident. I mean, it was bad. Harriet mentioned it. It was one of the worst, I think, in the South Dakota history. But I mean, we got hammered super hard. It literally took us back 10 years in every way. So we just said, okay, we're just gonna like pause and do a restart. And so we connected with Rodale. We said, hey, we're in a really tough place, man. We got hit so hard with so many different chemicals. And we're just at a restart. Our soil is really struggling. And so we connected with Rodale. I think someone's going to put a link to that in the chat. And it was really through Rodale and just studying what Rodale did that really impacted me. They kind of coined the term healthy soil, healthy food, healthy people. J. Rodale did this in about May 1942. And the term regenerative agriculture really was first introduced by Dr. George Washington Carver, and it was popularized by Robert Rodale, who coined the term regenerative organic to distinguish a kind of farming that goes beyond sustainable. And so that's what we studied everything we could from Rodale. We went to the website, we watched every video, And we did this for about six months, and finally I came back to my to Glenn and said, hey, okay, I got the solution. We're gonna go regenerative. And he's like, what? I said, we're going regenerative. He didn't, and I said he didn't know what that was either. So he had a lot of learning to do. I kind of knew what it was, but he had some learning to do. And so the next step was to connect with Regenerative Organic Alliance. And so the Rodale Institute actually founded, they were one of the founders of Regenerative Organic Alliance and the Regenerative Organic Certified Program. So if you go to their website today, that you can actually go to the Regenerative Organic Alliance page. They're doing a lot of research in this space, and they built it around the importance of being able to document the effectiveness of it. And of course, that was in my heart, right? I wanted to document. So I did a baseline study of where we were in 2018 and then comparing it to where we are in 2016. And for me, I really wanted to show how increasing all of these things that we were doing increased the soil organic matter, increased the overall health of our farm. So there were basically three pillars in ROC: soil health, animal welfare, and social fairness, and we adopted them all. We're not certified to animal welfare, but we follow their practices and the 5 freedoms for our cattle, our sheep, and our chickens. And on the soil health side, we just went in and decided we were going to start working more with perennials. And so that's been a big part of our farm, is moving away from annual production to more farming with perennials and just kind of leaving the soil undisturbed. And then just as we're making sure we start taking care of ourselves, right? Fair payments for farmers. We looked at ourselves and going, you know what? We're underpaying ourselves. Like, we need to raise our rates for our products. We need to take care of ourselves. And so it was a wonderful relationship, and so much so that I went to work for them as their quality manager, and now I'm their farm ambassador. And it just impacted me so much. We ended up getting certified with them, and I believe it was 2021 for the first time. And we have just thoroughly enjoyed being a part of it. We switched certifiers this year to Where Food Comes From, and we're really happy with that, because then they can do both certifications at the same time. They come and do an inspection for organic, and then they do an inspection for the ROC program as well. So one of the baseline standards, though, for this certification is you do have to be certified organic. So you have to be certified organic to the NOP or one of the recognized equivalents. So there are three levels of regenerative organic certified, which I really like. So you can come in at the bronze level, which is 10% of your land or revenue. You can come in at silver, which is where we are at, 50% of our land or revenue. Or you can just decide to go for gold, which is 100% of land or revenue under the program. And so fast forward 5 years, after 5 years of regenerative farming, us kind of where are we at with things? And I think what we're seeing is, based on our soil testing, is that we're seeing increased organic matter. We're seeing increased aggregate stability. We do Haney tests. We never did Haney tests when we were organic, but we learned so much about soil health. And we do an annual soil analysis. We're going out into the field. We're counting our earthworms. We're smelling the dirt. We're in the dirt. We're looking at biodiversity. We are testing our aggregate stability. We are looking at so many more things than NPK. We were astounded at what we didn't know about soil health. And so we kind of became like soil scientists. And now it's kind of a fun thing for us to go out and do our spring testing. We're getting ready to do our soil testing soon to look at how all these practice changes improved our soil health. We moved away from off-farm fertility inputs all the way. I can't remember the last time I brought something in off the farm. We make everything on the farm, whether it's dandelion compost tea or our own compost teas. We just don't buy anything. Everything is recycled on the farm. We also started rotational grazing. We brought cattle onto the farm, which we didn't have before. And wow, did that increase soil health and biodiversity. We started longer crop rotations. We saw less disease and pests with that. We started integrating cover crops, perennials, companion cropping, and we started seeing higher available plant nutrients, and we started seeing healthier fruit as a result. So we also incorporated, like Harriet, we have honeybee hives not, as part of our enterprise. They are managed by somebody else, but we brought honeybees onto the land. So we just did a lot of things. And that picture there, that second picture of those berries, those are our aronia berries. We harvest aronia berries and we sell them by the pound frozen, and we have a really good market for that. The other thing that we did was we partnered with the Xerces Society to become a pollinator protection site. So what that means is we just stopped using anything, whether organic or not, that was harmful to honeybees. We looked at everything and said, we're just not going to use it, whether it's approved for organic or not. We want to really be protecting our pollinators. And so we learned everything we could from the Xerces Society. There's actually, if you go to their website, they have a list of even organic products that you might want to avoid, or organic inputs that might be organically approved, I should say, inputs that you might want to avoid that might be harmful to honeybees or have pollinators during active foraging times. And so we started implementing these kinds of practices too by protecting those foraging times as much as we could. And then animal welfare became a huge thing for us. I mean, these are my daughter and my granddaughter are absolutely like they love animals, and so they actually work with our animals. They train them. They domesticate them. They become like pets. The cow you see there in the middle, that's my daughter Brittany. She's petting our milk cow. We do milking Dexters on our farm, and so they're a dual breed. So we use them for milk and for meat. We've had chickens. We do pasture raised pork. And then we do beef as well. And we definitely love all of our pasture raised meats. As you can see, everything's covered. The land you don't see no dirt. You don't see bare dirt anymore, do you? Those days are gone. We keep everything covered. So like I mentioned, we do have a poultry processing plant that we put up, and we really, really value that, having that resource on our farm, because now we can go field all the way into the processing plant, and then people come to the farm and pick up their poultry. So that's kind of our main products, are our eggs and our meat products. So just some helpful resources that helped us on our journey. The Organic Farmers Association, can't give enough to Harriet and her team for the amazing work that they're doing at the OFA. We've been members of the Organic Farmers Association a long time, and I love all the things that they do. The Xerces Society, Rodale Institute, Regenerative Organic Alliance, the South Dakota Specialty Producers Association has a great website with resources as well. And then I have to give kudos to the Organic Agronomy Training Service, OATS. They have also done a fantastic job with helping educate folks on how to do things regeneratively. And here's my contact information. I'm happy to answer questions either through our Prairie Sun Organics email or through regenorganic.org, which is Regenerative Organic Alliance. So I am a farm ambassador, and I love getting out and talking to folks and just seeing what they got and helping them transition from organic to regenerative, or from conventional to organic and regenerative. So made a believer out of me, and I hope that you got a lot out of my story today, and happy to take questions.
Thank you so much, both of you. That was great. And our first question that we have is, we'll start with Harriet, is cover crop. What is your favorite flowering cover crop? If you'd share that, and then Angela, afterwards, if you'd chime in, that would be great.
Well, I guess I would say probably buckwheat, because it is so quick and you can use it any time of year. It is frost sensitive. So you got to plant it like after the chance of frost. But then there is one wonderful thing that you can plant it and then late in the season and let it frost kill, and then it gives you this great mulch. And numerous times we've had the turkeys come and do their dance in the spring, where the males are in the middle and the females are up on the buckwheat. I think maybe because there's some grain there they could eat or something. So look, it's like the turkey dancing grounds. So I guess I'd say buckwheat. My second one, and I'm not sure where you are in Minnesota. We're a little bit on the edge in Wisconsin where I am here. for that crimson clover. So we plant that in the fall with a very light oat nurse crop, and then the oats kind of die over it, but don't smother it. And then that comes up super early, and it's really good early crop for the honeybees. And so it's blooming like the second week of May for me. Now, I don't know, northern Minnesota, it'd probably be more like early June, but it's one of the very first, and you can have a whole field of it. And so it encourages the queen bee to lay a lot of eggs. So when the actual big honey flow comes about a month or a month and a half later, you have like an army of bees to go out there and collect honey. So so those two, I guess, are, but I love a lot. There's chickling vetch. I love that. That's an annual vetch, otherwise known as AC green fix. That can grow anytime that oats grow, so it can take a frost. And it just produces mountains of nitrogen.
Angela, would you like to add?
I would say the taproot radishes. So we use a lot of radish on our farm. It does very well in our short growing season and for what we needed to do. Winter kills nice, and it provides food for the deer and other wildlife habitat during the wintertime.
Perfect. Hey, when we talk about Harriet's herbs that she sells for tea, someone said, is that very profitable?
Well, I think it is. I think it's worth my time. But you have to be efficient in what you're doing and really, plan for it. And so, because if you're spending a lot of time like kind of futzing around, and I can't think of it, just for me, it's like I grow the plants, I grow them in my greenhouse. I don't have to buy plants. I put them out. I put down my landscape cloth so I don't have very little hand weeding. And then I can harvest it. It goes right into my drying room and then right into storage. It's a one person job. I mean, my husband helps with a few things, but kind of like Angela, he loves like driving the tractor. So he'll go out and he likes to like mow out invasive species and anything with the tractor he likes. And of course, I like the hand stuff. So so he gets everything ready. He plants the rye and he cultivate, incorporates that. But when it comes to hand weeding, you don't ask him to do that. So I try to set it up so I don't need to do a lot of that, right? So then my hours of time are really spent on harvesting and then garbling. So yeah, so I'd say most of my herbs average between $25 and $35 a pound dried. And the typical dry to wet is like it's like 6 times. So it'll be like 6 pounds wet, fresh, and then 1 pound dried. And my number one seller is nettles. So I have a lot of nettles on my farm. I don't let my husband mow out the nettles. I like keep him like, you don't go there and mow my nettles because like and I probably sell about 30 pounds of dried nettles a year. And of course I don't have to do anything except keep him from mowing them. Just, so any kind of wildcrafting is helpful too. And I also like with my calendula, I set it up where I only am out there maybe an hour or an hour and a half harvesting those like every other day and then just kind of pick the whole patch in succession and then just kind of rotate back about 10 days later I'll come back and repick an area. So I don't overdo it.
Where do you get your landscape fabric, Harriet?
I get it from Greenhouse Megastore.
Greenhouse Megastore, okay.
That's online. And I bought, I think, the 20-year. And of course, since I only have it out from mid-May to early September, and then we roll it up and put it in the barn. So it's not getting any UV degradation. And like I said, for 7 years, we don't even have we have very little shredding, or we don't, we don't make holes in it. Like some people put down landscape cloth and then use a flamer and make a hole. But then it starts to shred and unravel, and we just keep it whole. We try to get the rows about 3 feet apart, 3 feet 2 inches or something, and then the 3 foot wide comes down really, goes down really well. And then we also have some 6 foot wide that we use for melons and some other larger crops and tomatoes. But we actually trellis our tomatoes, but still you need, more room. The 3 foot is not wide enough. So we have some 6 foot wide too.
We also we have to do an evaluation poll. Maddie, if you're ready, we can get that going right now.
I see somebody asked, why not cover crops between your crop rows? And we are doing that too. So in our sweet corn and our squash, we have found that there's a crop called Essex rapeseed, which is a brassica, which gets about 10, 12 inches tall, has really wide leaves, and it has been really good at smothering out weeds between our sweet corn. So at the last cultivation of the sweet corn and the squash, which is about early July for us, we come in and we broadcast this Essex rapeseed and then do the cultivation to kind of cover it. And hopefully we get a rain, and then we're done. And then we don't have weeds. We just have the brassica there. And the squash does well, and the sweet corn does well, and everybody's happy. And I'm not out there hand weeding sweet corn.
Also, could we do a picture right now? Everyone turn the camera on. We'll do a quick picture, please. Okay. Camera's on if you can. We'd like to see your little faces. Okay, I guess that's it. We also had a question, Harriet, on the greenhouse that you have, the deep winter greenhouse. A lot of U of M had grants for that, but can you give an idea if someone was thinking about doing one? You can have a kit or make your homemade one, but can you share what kind of costs involved?
Well, again, I built it in 2001, so the cost is going to be quite different. We built it all out of rough sawn black locust that we got from a local sawmill, so we didn't have to use any treated wood, and it's holding up quite well. I would look at that book, The Deep Winter Greenhouse, and there's another book that I used when I built mine called Solviva, Solviva. I don't even know if it's still in print, but you probably could find it on Amazon. Just look around. And that was kind of where I got my initial, thought on that. And I have to say that in 2001, it cost $60,000 to build. And we paid a contractor to do the building. We didn't, so that was where a lot of it went, because we got rough sawn lumber. And the glass was expensive. But, I compared the size of my greenhouse to somebody else who had a hoop house, and they were, heating it for their bedding plants in the spring, and they were spending between $8,000 and $10,000 for LP gas to heat it. So I figured that I paid for that greenhouse in the first 6 to 8 years by not having any heating cost.
Okay, thank you. And we'll kind of part with this last question briefly, both of you. If you could do it all backwards, or go back, what would you do to change? What would you have said, gee, if I would have only known, life would have been easier?
I think for me, clearly, if I would say we should have started out with regenerative practices and partnered with Rodale earlier in the process.
I would have trusted my instincts more than the experts, because there were times when I did go to like the NRCS, and there were a few things that they said, oh, you should plant these shrubs for wildlife, and so we just did, and then we didn't research it, and then it turned into an invasive species, and now we're trying to get rid of them. So, if I would have just done a little bit more research myself and not just trusted, so I'm, even though I'm an expert now, and I wish everybody just believed me, but I say no. You check on it and make sure, because maybe it wouldn't be an invasive species somewhere else, but it ended up being one here.
Would
What were the invasive species?
Autumn olive is our big problem, and honeysuckle. Those are two shrubs that grow mostly along the edges of the woods, but we actually planted them. Literally, I think the day after I signed my land contract to buy the property, we planted two things that we are still trying to get, that have spread all over the farm. And it's not just here. I mean, it's like everywhere. And that's another one is a multiflora rose. But we don't have it quite as bad. We didn't plant that, but it's coming in from other neighbors. And that was one that the NRCS used to recommend.
What about buckthorn? Have you?
I don't have any buckthorn.
That's a problem. Yep.
We have garlic mustard, but the deer spread that.
Now we'll ask Maddie, can you do the evaluation, please? We only had one person do it. So
yeah, I'm going to relaunch the poll for everybody. So, okay, so now you have the opportunity to answer 4 simple questions, multiple choice, I think, and then one if you want to put your email in. But yeah, thanks for filling stuff in. It helps us with keeping track of how we're reaching folks.
And we'll do that before we end it. We could have went on for days. Both of you were fabulous, by the way. I sure appreciate it, both of you as being our guests on here. And of course, we have your contact information. This will be up probably in about a week. I'll be edited so you can go back and listen to it, and also their contact info. So very happy for both of you to be on here. And then we'll just and with that, then if everyone's done the evaluations.
And always Angela. Hello, Angela, again.
All right. Well, stay tuned for our next one on the webinar Wednesdays coming up next month. And if you want to go back and listen to all the other ones that you missed, please, you can listen as much as you want at midnight if you can. So we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.